everybody, it's me, it's Arthur, aka that indie comic book guy, and today we're gonna talk about the top 10 best books that Marvel's delivered in 2020. That's what we're gonna talk about. Some of the best books that Marvel's put out. And I know it's popular for grown men with beards to get on the internet and just kind of dog Marvel and, half the books they've never read. But seriously, Marvel still puts out good books. So does DC and a lot of the other comic book publishers. So please don't jump on the bandwagon because honestly, people read a headline, they read a press release, and then they just make assumptions from there about what a book will or will not be without actually reading it. So, having said all that, let's talk about the top 20. Having said all that, let's talk about the top 10 books that Marvel has put out in 2020. Again, this is my pick. You may have a different list. Please let me know in the comments. What are your top 10 favorite books of 2020 that Marvel Comics has released? What are some books that didn't make this list that you're like, hey, you should check this book out? I want to know. Let's have that conversation in the comments below. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. We could use the company. Okay, let's start this list off with number 10, Sword. It's a new book. And I know a lot of people hate the concept of the X-Men in space. They really don't like mutants being in space for some reason. They're like, hey, stay on Earth. You're supposed to be fighting for, diversity and for us to all get along and hold hands and drink Pepsi and Coke and all that good stuff. But anyway, this book is kind of like Deep Space Nine with mutants and aliens and humans all just kind of hanging around a space station. So Star Trek comparisons are there, definitely. However, once I read this book, and I read issues 1 and 2, it has Agent Brand, Magneto, Frenzy, Fabian, Cortez, Manifold, a whole lot of cool characters in this book, even Teenage Cable. So the lineup alone and the different departments and the mutant technology, which is basically them synchronizing their powers. This is going to make for a good video game, right? Mutant technology. So look for that in a mobile app or a Marvel video game soon. I predict this. So Sword is a good book. Interesting premise. I want to see where they go from here with it. It's only been a couple issues, but it did make the list. So there's that. Strange Academy. That's our number 9 pick. I said our number 9 like it's more than me. Well, it's me, myself, and I. So, Strange Academy is number 9. This is one of those books that I wish more people would read because it's kind of like, what if Harry Potter actually had a big special effects budget? You would get this book. It's all about Doctor Strange starting this whole school of magic and has all these cool, kind of like legacy characters, good and bad. So it's an interesting mix of teachers, students, and if you like books like Academy X, New X-Men Academy X, you would feel right at home with this book. It's not one of those books like Avengers Academy, which was kind of boring, which was kind of like blood sporty. Let's just kill everybody. It was kind of depressing. So this is more of a lighthearted book with some action, interesting character dynamics. So definitely check out Strange Academy. Now, number 8, Hellions. Hellions is a good book. This book surprised me. A lot of people compare it to DC's Suicide Squad, but I don't see it. I really don't see it. This book is more for everyone who ever wanted Mr. Sinister to have his own book. And here you go. You have Hellions. So basically it's manipulation, it's comedy, it's of course killing random people, whether it's the team, whether it's the bad guy. It's all here in Hellions. So you got Havoc rounding out the cast, Psylocke, Wild Child, Orphan Maker, Nanny, a whole host of characters. This would be a great book if Deadpool was just thrown into the mix, but he's not a mutant, even though some people tend to forget that. But this is a great book if you're looking for a Mr. Sinister ongoing series. He's the main character. I don't care what anybody say. If he was not in this book, I would not read it. Yeah, there, I said it. Now, Daredevil. Number 7 is Daredevil. I've always loved Daredevil stories more than like Batman stories because Daredevil, he was never been overexposed and he wasn't this big franchise character. So the writers were allowed to tell better stories. They were allowed to tell stories more centered in the real world where there's actual consequences. And so the current story where Kingpin, kind of outed Daredevil out for, murdering a guy, and he's kind of like, yo, I'm just gonna set an example for the rest of the vigilantes, that we just can't go around just doing what we want. We just can't go around. It's like, hey, I killed this guy, but who cares? I'm a good guy. We can't do any of that stuff anymore. So now Elektra is the new Daredevil, so it's getting pretty interesting. Yes, I know there are spoilers, but when you watch a top 10 video, there's gonna be spoilers. Seriously, you should have known that coming in. But you definitely should check this series out. Again, Daredevil trumps, I said the word Trump. Daredevil trumps Batman because you can tell stories that matter with this character. And have you noticed most Daredevil stories always involve him, a girl, and things just going haywire from there? Just saying. Number 6 is Marauders. Marvel has secretly made Catherine Pryde, Kitty Pryde, whatever you want to call her. Well, don't call her Kitty Pryde anymore. She tends to not like that. They secretly gave her her own book, kind of like Mr. Sinister and Hellions. Marauders is definitely a Catherine Pryde book. Everybody else is just kind of there hanging out, eating tacos with no cheese, the way tacos should be eaten. If you see cheese on a taco, it's not a real taco. I say this because I am from Texas. We know what real tacos look like, taste like. Okay, enough about tacos. But this book is an awesome book. This book, again, similar to Hellions, about manipulation. It's about characters just being bad while they're trying to be good, things of that nature. And the contrast between Catherine Pryde and Sebastian Shaw, that's what drives this book forward. So if you want to know what the Hellfire Club, well, now the Hellfire Trading Company is doing, check out Marauders. This brings me back to those good feels when I used to read Chris Claremont's X-Men, and he used to write some strong, powerful women, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm a feminist and, you gotta respect my agenda. It was nothing like that. It was just women being strong because they just happen to be strong characters. But again, this is definitely a Catherine Pryde-centered book, even when she was dead for a few issues. So if you like Shadowcat, this is the book for you. It also has Storm, Bishop, Iceman, Pyro, and a few other characters, but they're kind of background characters right now. Maybe that'll change in the future, but it's definitely a good read. Now, number 5, Venom. Who would have thought that Venom of all characters would have a must-read book? Not me. And since Nick Spencer is over there doing whatever he's doing to Spider-Man, remember when people used to read Spider-Man? There was like 10 Spider-Man titles. Those days are gone. And again, Nick Spencer's just killing the buzz over there. It's kind of boring in Spider-Man world, except for Venom. Donny Cates has done the impossible and made Venom a must-read book. And the cool thing about this book is Eddie Brock and his son Dylan, they are providing a good contrast between their characters, and then you have the symbionts. And it's just an all around good look at atonement, redemption, and a little WTF moments that make you really want to find out where these characters are going. And I guess they're going into the King in Black storyline, which is an awesome read, by the way. So definitely pick up Venom if you ever want to know how messed up a father-son relationship can be and what they will try to do to kind of atone for past mistakes. So definitely check this book out. Number 4, Avengers. Remember when comics were fun? When comic books were fun and you could not wait to go and read a new comic book? That's what you get. That's what you get with this book. Avengers is a fun comic book. You got characters like Captain America beating up Ghost Rider. Like, what? In just a couple panels. You have characters like Moon Knight beating up the whole Avengers team and just taking their powers. This is a book that's meant to be fun. So if you're looking for a fun comic book that had that old school feel, no politics, and it makes no apologies about being a comic book, definitely check out Avengers. Number 3, Immortal Hulk. This book isn't about smashing the latest bad guy. In fact, it has more of a psychological feel to it. It's kind of like a psychological study of the mind and our different personas and our motivations. So the Hulk and Bruce Banner, they've gone through it all these years. We've seen every different manifestation. We've seen the Hulk be good, the Hulk be bad, Bruce be good, Bruce be bad. This is a good look at the different Hulk personas, and you find out why the Hulk can't be killed. And you look at characters like Rick Jones, the leader, and it's hard to describe this book without just really putting it in your hands and having you read it, and you're like, oh, I get it now. So this is definitely a book you should read. I just totally messed up that description. You're like, what? Psychological what? Is this a transcendental experience here? Thought I was reading the Hulk. I just want to see somebody smash. There is smashing. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of smashing to be made, but I tend to look at things a little deeper sometimes, and this is definitely one of those books that have layers. It's kind of like you go to counseling, you sit on the couch, and they tell you you're crazy, and you spend the rest of the time trying to figure out why you're crazy. That's what the Hulk is. Number 2, Thor. Thor is now king of Asgard, and the series started with a big bang by him teaming up with Galacticus, and now there's this whole story with Dr. Donald Blake coming back, and apparently he is the new big bad, and it's just crazy. It is crazy. So this new story arc, you're looking at a bad guy who used to be a good guy, used to be a decent person, until Odin trapped him into this fantasy world, and he got out, he went crazy, and it's like, yo, I blame Thor, I blame Odin, I blame all y'all. Guess what? I'm powered up now. Let me see what I can take from y'all. So definitely check out Thor. Number 1, King in Black. It's only been 2 issues, and the villainous simian god has already killed Sentry and a couple other people. And he has the heroes and villains spooked. And I don't want to spoil too much about this title, because if you read Silver Surfer Black last year, you know what you're in for. And it's gonna be a lot of people dead. It's gonna be a lot of life-saving moments, hopefully. Hopefully everybody makes it out alive. Or, well, if you read issues 1 and 2, you know a few people did not live. This is the kind of book that X of Swords should have been. Like, they literally had no purpose for those swords. They wasted $120 if you read that whole crossover for nothing. Like, really. King in Black accomplished more in 2 issues than they accomplished in 20-something odd issues. This book raised the stakes. You know, all the players that have been presented so far, and I'm just waiting to see the fallout. There you have it. That's the top 10 best Marvel comics of 2020. Yes, some of them are recent that have only came out in the last couple months, and I'm loving it. So let me know what you think in the comments. What are your top picks for some of the best Marvel books of 2020? What made this list that you agree with? What didn't make the list? What books on this list of mine do you think should be forever removed and never spoken of again? Anyway, I'm that indie comic book guy. I'll see you in the next video. Peace twice.